I think we're all in. Tēnā koutou katoa. Tēnā koe e te perimia. Welcome back. Welcome back, Prime Minister. It's great to have you back so soon after your last visit. E tēnā koe e te minita. Minister Woods, welcome to MC. And all invited guests, on behalf of all of my fellow partners and all of us here at MC, a huge warm welcome to you here this morning. My name is Sophie Swass and I am the CEO here at MC. You might be thinking, who on earth are we? We are one of Aotearoa New Zealand's largest and most well-established law firms. We are New Zealand's premium and largest litigation firm. And alongside advising a number of government departments and Crown entities, and our very long-standing role of serving the community as Office of the Crown Solicitor here at Auckland for over 100 years, we also support and serve our commercial and corporate and private entity clients on their most pressing matters. And that's in a number of areas, whether it's in dispute resolution, transactions, property and construction, alongside our regulatory advice. And we're very proud that our people not only provide extremely strategic advice to our clients in the more traditional areas of law, but also in the dimensions around te tiriti, tikanga and te rao Māori, which are becoming more important in our relationships with our clients, alongside many of our values that we bring into our client relationships. We are extremely proud of the public-private relationship and partnership that we have, and it's fabulous to have those clients in the room here. And it's also fantastic to see some of our corporate clients here in the room today, who we also really value and are proud of our partnership with. We really look forward to these relationships continuing and serving our Crown, our communities and our corporate clients for many, many years to come. But that's enough about us. I know what you're really here to hear about is to hear from the Prime Minister and his team in relation to the next steps in New Zealand's energy transition. Prime Minister, I'll hand over to you.
Hai tēnā koutou katoa. Good morning, everybody. It is fantastic to be with you all. Can I first of all thank you, Sophie, and the team at Meredith Connell for hosting us in your incredible spaces. Can I welcome and acknowledge my ministerial colleagues, Minister for Energy and Resources, Dr. Megan Woods, and Climate Change Minister James Shaw. Acknowledge you. Can I also welcome the head of BlackRock Australasia, Andrew Landman, Charlie Reid, BlackRock Asia Pacific Head of Climate Infrastructure. It's great to have you both here. Thank you for being here. It's a good venue for this announcement. Modern 6-star green buildings like this remind us of the huge benefits and opportunities inherent in making positive choices about our environment and about our climate. It's the kind of bold vision for the future that brings us here today. Last week I spoke to an audience of business directors here in Auckland about why climate action is good for their bottom line as well as good for our climate. As a country that relies heavily on our clean green brand to underpin our export value, we need to work hard to maintain our competitive advantage. Increasingly, consumers and companies around the world and the companies our exporters supply to are making good climate practices a condition for doing businesses. Our recent free trade deal with the European Union has major climate obligations built into it. Decreasing our carbon emissions is no longer a nice to have, but an essential part of doing global business. We've got a great story to tell as a country, but we can't take that for granted. I've heard some argue that New Zealand should be a fast follower when it comes to climate action. That as a country that produces less than 1% of global emissions, we have no role in being at the front of the pack. I could not disagree more with that assessment. The announcement we're here for today proves that big economic opportunities for New Zealand lie in our climate leadership. I'm proud of my government's ambition on climate, and I'm proud of the actions that we've taken so far to date. We passed the Zero Carbon Act, enshrining into law our goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050. We've made electric cars more affordable, and we're experiencing one of the highest uptakes of electric vehicles anywhere in the world. We've established a green investment fund, and we've boosted its pool of capital by $300 million in the most recent government budget. We banned offshore oil and gas exploration, sending a clear market signal that future electricity generation investment needs to be in the renewable energies area so that we can hit our target of 100% renewable electricity by 2030. Just yesterday I announced plans to fast-track solar and wind generation projects that could produce more power than the Clyde Dam in a fraction of the time, with a fraction of the cost, and of course the impact on the environment is less from those initiatives as well. This government has taken more action on climate change in the last 6 years than all other New Zealand governments combined. Our actions mean that New Zealand is on track to achieve our first emissions reduction budget. Our actions are bending the curve on emissions, with climate pollution falling through 2020, 2021 and 2022, with the December 2022 quarter delivering the lowest figure in at least 9 years. But we know that there is more to do. For example, Transpower forecasts that we need 68% more electricity generation to meet demand by 2050. So it's a mix of ambition, courage, and work that we've done to date that leads us to today's announcement. I'm pleased to announce that the government has worked with BlackRock over the recent months to launch a first-of-its-kind $2 billion climate infrastructure fund, with the goal of making New Zealand one of the first countries in the world to reach 100% renewable electricity. It will be BlackRock's largest single-nation decarbonisation investment to date. I am absolutely stoked that we've been able to secure this world-leading investment in New Zealand businesses, and it's proof of our ambitious climate targets having the world's attention. This investment will be a boon for Kiwi businesses, and it will make New Zealand a hub for renewable tech expertise. The fund will mean we can create renewables IP right here that can be used for good at home and commercialised for the benefit of the world. This is a game changer for the clean tech sector, and an example of the pragmatic and practical steps the government's taking to accelerate climate action while actually growing our economy and creating jobs at the same time. It's the exact type of government and private sector climate partnership that's central to my vision for action on climate. Partnering with and supporting industry to solve the climate crisis is a no-brainer, and continuing to do so is my ongoing commitment as Prime Minister. I don't think that it's an understatement to say that today is a watershed moment in our transition to 100% renewable electricity generation and our goal of net zero emissions by 2050. So to BlackRock, thank you for your confidence in our climate plans and actions. I'm confident this is a big step forward for climate action that's going to achieve significant results. I'm now going to hand over to the Minister for Energy and Resources, Dr. Megan Woods.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you to Sophie and the team for hosting us here today, because today is an exciting day in our journey in investment to decarbonise this country's energy system. And rather than acknowledge individuals, I'd just like to acknowledge the New Zealand energy sector that seems to be sitting in this room. It's great to see so many of you here, because today is a day where we show how we can grow our economy and slash our emissions. This is a day where we recognise the massive opportunities for our innovative renewable energy companies to flourish, to grow and to create well-paid jobs. It started with leadership, with our government's decision to ban further offshore oil and gas exploration, to draw a line in the sand and actively pursue our renewable and decarbonised future. It has continued through moves such as our government's commitment to setting up and funding New Zealand's Future Energy Centre, Araake in New Plymouth, to help commercialise energy innovation and to enter the market with innovative new and emerging technologies. And it's resulting in programs like the government investing in decarbonising industry to decarbonise industry and to replace fossil fuels with renewables, to take the equivalent of over 500,000 cars off the road. And these are just some of the initiatives that demonstrate our commitment to cutting energy emissions and supporting a transition to a low emissions economy and future. And BlackRock's commitment of this world-leading fund recognises the ambition and leadership that New Zealand has demonstrated in pursuit of reaching its energy transition goals. And this fund will allow New Zealand to go further and faster, because we have so much potential. New Zealand is better placed than most other countries in the world to develop new renewable electricity generation projects. Offshore wind in the Waikato, Taranaki and Southland is amongst some of the best in the world, and that's just wind. We have more potential in solar and geothermal and green hydrogen. Te Wahanga, the Infrastructure Commission, puts the already committed energy projects in the infrastructure pipeline at $4.7 billion worth of investment. And we see more and more interest every day. These projects will deliver benefits for regional economies, creating highly skilled jobs and supporting local businesses to contribute to our green energy future. The fund will create private market opportunities for local institutional investors, along with incredible opportunities for New Zealand innovators in clean tech. It will allow businesses to get off the ground, grow and create jobs and expand to reach into other markets around the world. There are so many fantastic innovators in this country, and this is a fund that is a brilliant opportunity for them and for New Zealand as consumers demand more sustainability from what they buy. It is an opportunity for New Zealand to demonstrate to the world what a fully renewable and green electricity system looks like, and this can provide the template for other nations in their decarbonisation journeys. So thank you to BlackRock for recognising the enormous opportunities we have here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, to grow our economy and slash our emissions. And it's now my very great pleasure to hand over to Andrew Landman, Head of New Zealand and Australia BlackRock. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Kia ora, and thank you, Prime Minister Hipkins and Minister Woods, for those kind words. I think for BlackRock, this is the first time we've done a country-specific initiative like this. And I think the most important point, and I'll raise two, and the first one is I would like to thank our institutional investors. Some of them are in this room. We've benefited over the last 10 years managing various retirement savings for New Zealand. And I think through that engagement, we've learnt so much about the innovation in New Zealand, and also the institutional investors here, whether you feel it or not, in Auckland, are global leaders. They get well recognised, and we get a lot of inbound inquiry, how are your investors thinking in New Zealand? So they have really driven this idea very hard with us, and we've thought about it. Second part of this initiative is actually the country. And why New Zealand? We have positions all around the world as one of the largest asset managers in the world. And so why New Zealand? And it really is some of our investee companies that we've invested in prior, and also the intel and knowledge that we've garnered from them. The level of innovation is far greater in this country than we see elsewhere in clean tech. We are seeing an enormous amount of visionary capabilities out of those investee companies that are great for the country, but also great for the export capability set that you could find from that. So with those investee companies, we're starting to garner how can we help New Zealand go from what is already world-leading position in clean tech to get to the targets that are out there. We firmly believe New Zealand could be first country in the world to achieve the 100% target. And this initiative is one step closer to hopefully helping that and bringing the public and private sector together to create enough capital and innovation and prosperity for the employment of those investee companies. So I'd like to thank everyone here, and in particular, in closing, before I hand over to my investment expert, I would like to thank Sir Stephen Tyndall in the room. He has been absolutely instrumental in helping us guide, understand and recognise and find great opportunities within the country. So thank you, Sir Stephen. So I'll pass now to Charlie Reid, and thank you again for everyone's attendance.
Thank you, Andrew. Just stepping back for a global perspective for one moment. To get to net zero by 2050, the world needs to invest $200 trillion of capital. To bring that closer to home, that's $1 billion every hour until 2050. And when you look at New Zealand is currently in the future at 83% renewables and is one of the leading renewable power markets around the world. Now, in order to get to the next stage of its trajectory and to get to 100% renewables, clearly deployment of renewables will be important, but also providing energy security and reliability. And we've seen that through the natural climate events in New Zealand. And we've seen that firsthand through our portfolio company, Solar Zero, and the innovative work they've been doing to provide resilient, low-cost power to communities across New Zealand. Now, in order to hit the 100% renewable target, which, as Andrew mentions, we believe New Zealand can, the investment required for that is around $42 billion of capital. And the initiative that we're talking about today will help provide, hopefully materially, contribution to that target. It will be providing capital to New Zealand businesses to develop wind, solar, batteries, EV charging, green hydrogen, natural capital, and other climate solutions. And will also be providing to New Zealand investors the opportunity to take part in what we hope will be a once-in-a-generation investment opportunity. And Andrew mentioned a few points about why New Zealand, but what I'd like to say from my perspective is that we truly believe that New Zealand is a leader in climate infrastructure globally. Owing to this leadership position and owing to its commitment and its trajectory towards 100% renewables, investors around the world want to take part in that journey. Secondly, I would say that if you think about the $42 billion of capital that's required, the scale and velocity of that capital requirement creates a very fertile investment dynamic for long-term institutional investment into this asset class. And finally, I'll echo the point that Andrew made, that the spirit of innovation and the ease of doing business in New Zealand is really unparalleled around the globe. So we're very excited about this initiative, and we look forward to working with New Zealanders to provide reliable, secure, and low-cost renewable energy going forward. Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone. That is it. So we're going to have a media stand up shortly, but just in the meantime, we've got about 15 or 20 minutes for people to be able to make some. So